Good morning, RWorld, and welcome back to another exciting episode of RWorldTalk. We're having some fun off camera this morning. I think that we're going to have a fantastic conversation with you today because we are lucky enough to welcome lucky enough to welcome Mr. John Slavon, one of our association's finest past presidents, to the podcast this morning. Welcome, John.
Thank you, Chris.
And you don't have to edit that out, David. We want to know that we're having a good time here.
And I really do want to thank you for inviting me into your podcast. And truly, honestly, thank you for everything you do for our association and continue to do and do this weekly podcast. That's incredible.
Well, I've got the exact same thing to say to you. Thank you for paving the way, and thank you for maintaining your involvement with the association, because you're doing an incredible job making sure that we're grooming our future leaders. So everybody here is very appreciative of all the work that you have done. Obviously, you were instrumental in creating Marketing Madness up in Port St. Lucie, which has been a smashing success for years and years. Why has this been one of our members' favorite benefits? And tell us exactly what Marketing Madness is for anybody who has been.
Sure. Well, first, let me give credit where it's due. The founding fathers of Marketing Madness actually was Arlene Brown and Helen Morrow, along with the CEO of the time at RWorld, Realtors Association of St. Lucie, Stacy Storms. I later got involved, actually early on, and found myself in the position of emceeing the meeting, and it's taken off ever since. I love marketing. It's every Thursday, just a little bit before 9 o'clock. You get in there to network. We give opportunity for the members, along with the affiliates, to get to gather, share, exchange business cards. We have the opportunity for our local leaders and volunteer leaders come forward and welcome the group.
Okay.
And they can hear a little bit about what's going on at the association. We certainly provide them with education events, what's happening in the world of our association. But the meat and potatoes of this meeting is honestly not only that networking, but then the marketing. This came into play when our market was really beginning to fail. And agents were finding that their inventory was growing and the time on market was increasing. And we had to go back to basics.
Sounds a little familiar, doesn't it?
Very interesting, right? So how do we sell a property? Well, let's bring agents in and start sharing our information about our listings. So we give our agents 20 seconds to pitch a single property. We also go on tour throughout the county, and we rotate that through a quarterly basis. So every quarter we should hit all the different areas within the association. But that pitch time is really important. Today we had a big group. We give them 20 seconds only to pitch one property. And I mean, it took about a good 12, 15 minutes to pitch through all those properties. It was good. Interesting to see how the inventory has increased. Go back 3 years ago and people would say, oh, I don't have any property to pitch, but now they do. The announcements of the association we have, but there's another aspect that I like about Marketing Madness, and that's the success stories. Affiliates are so important in our success in getting to the closing table. And we want to hear from our members how they're using those affiliates across the aisle to get to that closing table, whether it's a successful inspection or a lender getting that complicated loan done, or the title company closing the transaction. So the affiliates are crucial to this meeting as well. We give the affiliate an opportunity to sponsor that breakfast and then also tell us a little about the services that they have to offer. There's another part to the meeting which is also really important, and we call it helps and needs. And it's wonderful to see. So you may have a property, or not a property, but a buyer that's looking for a particular property. Maybe it's a waterfront property, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath on the intercoastal, with that big deep water ocean access, and he's only willing to pay $100. So we understand that you have a serious need, and we're not going to be able to help you. So, no, but that's why we have the wants and needs.
Right.
And rental needs, for example. But honestly, every week I see an agent come up and ask for somebody's help, and an agent usually is there to answer that call. So that's pretty awesome.
I love the success stories, because I've actually seen that at a WCR event that I just went to a couple of months back. Caitlin Steele had asked me to come up to St. Lucie and do the good, bad, and the ugly of real estate. And before they even kicked off their event, they took that from Marketing Madness and were doing the success stories. And it was really nice to hear that somebody had worked with this lender and this is what the experience was, and they were able to get them this little down payment and utilize these different programs, and talk about an inspector that they had just done a deal with, where the inspector wasn't there to kill the deal. They were very calm, cool, and collected with the recommendations on what should be fixed with the home after they were to close, things like that. And it's great for our affiliate members to get that love out of that room as well.
Yeah, spotlight them. They come to every meeting and they have skin in the game, their members as well. I always tell agents, don't use the yellow pages.
Are the yellow pages still around?
Only if you need to sit on them.
Okay. Sometimes we lose our way in society a little bit. We're gonna spin on this one. Actually, you know what? Before we even get to that question, did anybody ever tell you that you've got a face for radio?
Thank you.
I hope you guys are watching this podcast video, because this is a really handsome guy. I think that's what that means when you got a face for radio, that you're very handsome, because my mother used to tell me that all the time when I was younger. Sometimes when we lose our way in society, often need to remember that a significant component of networking, which is what we're doing really at Marketing Madness, is being present rather than being there physically, rather than just trying to connect with people with social media or text messaging or doing things online, which text messaging, a lot of times you lose a lot of the context of what's going on. But do you feel like Marketing Madness is building on those bonds, connecting members together and really helping them network effectively?
Look, that's why it was created.
Yeah.
And I think as we were finding our way, trying to get through the muddle of a very bad market, we needed to reach out to our colleagues. And one, it's nice to know that you're not alone. That, yeah, we're all struggling, but in our struggle, how can we work together to get through this?
Right.
And I had a property. It was that I would go to Marketing Madness and pitch, and it was called Leaping Frog. And I thought the best way to sell this was for me to jump up and down so people would remember it, Leaping Frog.
Right.
I did this for 3 years until it finally sold. Oh, serious.
Okay.
No, but networking is quintessential in our business, that FaceTime. There's nothing greater than to hear the phone ring and it's Chris's voice on the other side that says, hey, I got a buyer that wants to purchase your property. I'm submitting an offer. Right then and there, I know we're going to be successful because we already have a relationship.
Right.
And that's not going to be the problem. In fact, in many ways, the house isn't the problem either. It's usually the people.
Right.
And you and I know that, and how are we going to get them through that transaction smoothly? And that only comes through networking, really. And
it's time to start kicking it old school. I mean, this is the way that deals used to happen a long, long time ago, and we've gotten away from that. And people, when the multiple listing service happened and everything was put online, and the data that we had for the properties that we were trying to sell is now available to everyone, we've lost all of that ability to pick up the phone, like you said, and talk to somebody that you know that is going to help you all get to the finish line successfully throughout the course of that transaction. Right now, you've got people that you've never heard of. I mean, we've got more licensees in the state of Florida than anywhere else. It's impossible to know everybody who is working the area that you're working. So you don't know if that person has qualified their buyer, if they've got serious people, if those people are actually going to close the transaction, if it's going to be smooth, if you're going to end up doing all the work, if that person's actually going to pull their own weight. It's great to have something like Marketing Madness where you could actually sit down with somebody, talk to them, know that they've got skin in the game, know that they do, that you can find out from somebody who's already done a transaction with them, oh, this person was great. If they bring you an offer, this is going to be, easy peasy for all people involved because they're responsive, they've got qualified people that they're working with, they've talked to their sellers, and they have sellers who are realistic on price and terms. Those kind of things are going to help everybody get to the finish line.
Yep, 100%.
So outside of Marketing Madness, you played a huge role with helping REPB and GFLR. For anybody who's new enough to not know what those are, it was Realtor Association of the Palm Beaches, and GFLR was Greater Fort Lauderdale Realtors. You helped those two organizations merge and now become RWorld. And that was since 2018. How has the association changed? What have you seen? And what do you think is the best thing that's come out of that merger so far?
Well, I'm always amazed at seeing how the growth of our association continues weekly, really. Members are joining our association. Our association, when we merged, was a certain size. Now we're tens of thousands, even bigger.
Right.
We have even a larger geographical area since we also merged with South Broward.
Yeah.
But what really has impressed me with our association is that even though we're so large, we have certainly been able to maintain sort of the fundamental that we believed in when we were creating it, that we had to be member-driven, member-centric, hyper-local. And we've kept that. And it's amazing to see how you can create something so large and yet open up a bunch of offices, create a governance structure where you have regional boards, and you can now continue to engage these agents on a local level so they can participate in events that are happening in their area. Maybe do charity events, do fundraising for RPAC. Maybe like we just did the candidate screening in our local area. But all this is happening under the auspices of, under the bigger umbrella of this big corporate structure. But the corporate structure has stood back and allowed for the members to drive this organization.
Right.
The consequence of that is when you look at a broader picture like Florida Realtors or even National Association of Realtors, I'm so impressed to see how many of our members are active participants in the committees and leadership, both on the state and national level. And again, that's happened because we grow and strive to have member engagement and decision-making happening at the member level. And so that tradition and that culture has been percolating up into the state and into the national levels. It's really fantastic to see. I think we're sort of, in a way, an envy of the rest of the association world out there. So I'm very proud of what's happened.
I agree with that. I think that people constantly have eyes on us because they realize that our members are happy, they're productive. They're always sort of looking to RWorld to see how they should be modeling things in their own association because we have maintained that small town feel. My office happens to be right down the street from the North Broward regional office. So for me, driving past that building, sure, we're RWorld, sure, we're this, sort of on the global stage in this massive organization with a really, really big voice, big unified voice, but it still has the hometown feel. You've got the staff in the Broward office that have been there for years and years and years. You walk into a class there and see some old friends that you haven't seen in 10, 20 years. The same people are still active in the community. They're still active with the organization, still active realtors to this day. And it's nice to have that hometown feel, but then at the same time have all of the products, tools, and services that our members need in order to really thrive, not just survive, but truly thrive. And right now we're in a bit of a challenging market. You had said Marketing Madness had started at a point where we had inventory on the rise and people were having trouble selling their properties. Right now, that market seems very familiar to us. We don't have, short sales on the horizon and a market that looks like it's about to go south the way that it did the last time we had seen so much inventory and prices go so high. But right now, people are still seeing their listings sit on the market for a while because the buyers are on the fence. They're waiting for something to happen with interest rate changes. So prices starting to come down a little bit. It's important for all of us to get together right now at an event like Marketing Madness and let people know, this is what I've got for sale right now. We're having a hard time selling it. The seller is willing to contribute to a 3-2-1 buy down. The seller is willing to get creative with concessions. The seller is willing to give a credit towards a new roof. I mean, you don't have to make a blanket statement like that, but certainly when you're networking with people at Marketing Madness, you can say, hey, this is what we're willing to do. Do you have a buyer for this property? Let's try to put a deal together.
Yeah. And piggybacking on networking and the size of the association, I think it's awesome that I know you. I wouldn't have otherwise have ever met you or even be here.
You live 120 miles away from me.
Yeah, if we didn't have this association. And I think that's amazing. And the amount of friends and business partners that we've gained because of that merger has only benefited us as realtors as well.
I actually remember having the first real conversation that I think I've had with you was up at Florida Realtors. We were at the Renaissance Hotel. We were about to walk into the RPAC awards ceremony. And I think you were standing in the hall with Chuck Bonfiglio and you said, you're going to be a president one day, and I can't wait to see the things that you do. And I think I just laughed in your face because I thought at the time that you told me that it was absolutely absurd. And then here I was last year being the president of 42,000 MLS subscribers. I'm like, how in the world did we get to this point? It's really fascinating what this association can do for its members, because like you said, we are member centric, we're member driven.
It's good.
So it just takes somebody to step up to the plate and somebody like you to tap somebody on the shoulder and say, I could see something in you. You've got it. Why don't you go and give it a shot?
A little bit.
You gave me some confidence there. So tell us what's going on with real estate in the Treasure Coast. I remember we had, in my year, last year, one of the media outlets had called me and they said, we want to do a TV spot for the news and we need to know what's going on in the Treasure Coast. And I remember calling you and saying, hey, you need to do this spot for me because I'm not as familiar with Port St. Lucie as you are. And you really gave like the historical view on how Port St. Lucie came about and tracts of land, how they were divided, who the builder was, all that kind of stuff. So obviously you're the one that knows about what's going on in the Treasure Coast when it comes to real estate. So how is that market looking right now? And what do you expect? What kind of change are you seeing coming down the pike in the next couple of years?
Well, I think similarly of what we're all experiencing here in South Florida, inventory is growing. Right. So if we look back at our figures for May, I think our inventory is up about 70%. Really, it's high.
770.
Close to 70%. I believe that was the number. We had 1,000 some listings last year in May, and now we have over 2,000. That's a good thing because buyers have been challenged.
Right.
Buyers are still buying, though. We're seeing robust activity in St. Lucie. In fact, the activity was a little bit higher than last year at this time.
Wow.
And but with that, we're also seeing a continued appreciation of value. So the median sale price in St. Lucie right now is $400,000. And if we look at the absorption rate, we're 4.5 months, really verging on 5. And honestly, I think we could say we're really there at a balanced market now, where the seller is having to give some concessions and buyers are able to have a little more leverage and they're negotiating.
Sounds like a healthy market.
I mean, it's a healthy market, but for us, that's been in a crazy market for the last 3 years. We're like, oh my God, the sky is falling.
Anybody who got into the business in the pandemic years is thinking that it's the end of the world right now. But anybody who's been in real estate for a number of years is just looking at this going, okay, we're back to normal.
It took me 6 months to sell a listing. I was like, oh, what's wrong with me? No, it's all good. But we're working through it. Agents are having to sharpen their tools,
right?
And marketing, hold open houses. It was great. One guy today was looking for assistance for sitting his open houses because it's mini lobster season coming up, and his customers are insisting that he hold an open house. So he's like, lobsters, open house. And so he decided that he would offer a lobster dinner to the agent that would sit an open house for him so he could go fishing.
Wow, that guy's my spirit animal.
Yeah, but that's marketing madness. Totally crazy.
That's awesome. So what do you expect on the horizon? Do you think that there is going to be some relief for our sellers that are really trying to make a move sooner rather than later? Do you think that it's about price, that they could price the property right and it's going to move? Or do you think that we're going to see things that are going to sit for a while because buyers are just waiting on those interest rates?
I think people that are going to have the need to sell are going to sell. Okay. Those that are fishing to see what they can get for a price, they can't last in a market like this.
Right.
You do have to price, obviously, the property appropriately.
But my neighbor sold his 2 years ago for $100,000 over asking.
Right. But I think the buyer is going to then become resigned to the fact that it's going to cost so much for me to borrow the money in order to buy a particular property.
Right.
We're seeing that affordability issue in South Florida, and we really feel it because we've seen such appreciation of value so quickly. Put this in perspective.
Mm-hmm.
In 2010, the median sale price in St. Lucie was $89,000.
In 2010?
Yeah. And so now we're at $400,000.
Wow.
Yeah. Where were you?
St. Lucie's.
Why didn't you buy the house?
I should have put all the houses.
We couldn't sell.
Jeez.
Yeah. So I think I think we're sort of having to settle into this. And but Florida is always a destination spot, and I'm very positive. On short term, we're in a general election year, so everybody's just going to be sort of like waiting to see what happens.
Right.
Doesn't matter what happens. It's just that something happened, and now we can move on with our lives.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter what happens. I mean, even if prices were to fluctuate, where's the price of real estate going? It's always going up. It always has been going up. It could take a dip for a minute, it comes right back, and ends up being more expensive than it was the highest that you've ever seen.
Yeah, and if you see a dip or a drop in real estate, it's not a happy day.
No,
it's not good. So we just got to adapt.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're doing a lot of adapting right now. We're changing the entire way that we do business. And we're going to have a lot more of those interpersonal relationships and connections, to being able to talk to one another about what kinds of compensation or concessions that you may be offering, because it's no longer going to be available on the MLS. So
maybe do that through networking.
Oh, networking. That sounds like a good idea. We're going to have to pick up the phone and talk to someone. Fun fact about John. You used to be an opera singer?
Well, I still am.
You still are an opera singer?
Always an opera singer.
Okay. I hear you're quite a showman on stage. I remember, oh, geez, whose installation was that? Jared Lowe's installation? I think we had you and Anthony Gambardella and Eric Sane, just an absolute hot mess trio up on that.
One-lining our way through that one. Here we go.
Oh, my goodness. Any chance we're going to get you back on stage in the near future?
Well, listen, you have to let me stop doing all this volunteer stuff at the association.
Okay.
It takes a lot of time.
It does take.
But in all seriousness, I did sing opera, and it is a big commitment. But locally, I do continue to perform on a weekly basis.
Really?
Yeah, you can find me at Palm City Presbyterian Church.
Okay.
I'm the paid soloist section leader there. And if you don't want to travel that far, during the Jewish High Holy Days, you can come to Temple Bethel in Boca.
Okay.
And I'm there help supporting the Cantors music during the High Holy Days. I do concerts, but I have to tell you, after COVID, things have kind of stopped on that, and we need to get that back going. But once a singer, always a singer, and I enjoy it.
Wow. That's fantastic. I didn't know that you were still performing and that you're doing it at places of worship. That's fantastic. I remember when I had taken some singing lessons a million years ago, and they had you start off with "Mommy made me wash my M&Ms." Try and get your voice warmed up in the beginning. And the first time they said to do that, I'm like, "Are you serious? You guys pulling my leg over here?" Well, you are. I'm going to open up the floor for you if there's anything that you want to let our listeners know about, because I think I've got you for a couple of more minutes before I let you get back to work.
That you want the listeners to know about?
Anything. The floor is yours.
Well, I think the lesson today is about networking and getting back to basics. As we go through a transition in our market like we are now, more than ever, it becomes important for us as agents and working with our affiliates to stick together, to work through these challenging times, because we're here for the long haul. That's how it's going to play out.
Yep.
And the houses aren't the problem. It's the people that we're working with. That's the challenge, and we all need to stick together as transaction.
Don't be one of those people.
Yeah, and you get through it. Get through it that way.
Yeah, I think one of the most important things that we could do as true professionals, because we're lucky enough to really be considered professionals. There's not many trades or occupations out there that you could consider yourself a professional. You've got doctors, lawyers, architects, realtors, accountants. I think that's it. We've got 5 major professions, and I think that people allow that to get away from them. I think it's important to really bring professionalism back into what it is that we're doing. Make sure that we're telling our story, which I think we've talked about on this podcast a million different times. But make sure that the consumer really understands what it is that you do, understands your passion, and like you said, keep the networking going, because we have to be able to work together with each other. You're working for a seller, I'm working for a buyer. Everybody's got a common goal. Bring that goal together to the table, hash that stuff out, talk to each other, be respectful, be professional,
sure,
and make sure that you're answering your phone, returning your phone calls, returning your emails. Don't make people wait a week to get back to them. You're trying to sell a house for somebody.
And Chris, you have an association that's been created to help you, give you the tools and services to make the transaction, successful.
Right.
So, and if you be engaged at your association, get involved. Be there. That's part of your networking as well, and being informed of what's going on in the industry or what's going on in the politics.
Right.
That's how you're going to serve your community and your customer better. So that networking, engaging the association, and we do a great job of it. Our members are fantastic here.
Yep.
But remember, we're only as strong as our own individual participation here in our association. So be engaged, get involved.
And Marketing Madness happens every single week.
Yeah, been doing it since 2007.
Okay, since 2007.
Yeah,
we're doing it
no
every week.
excuse for not showing up.
And where is it? What time? What day of the week?
So it's Thursdays. The meeting officially starts at 9, but we encourage people to come a little bit earlier and network with their members and the affiliates, 9 to 10. And then we go on tour every Thursday, and that is at our university address up there in Port St. Lucie.
Okay, fantastic. So we asked this last question of all of our guests. Florida has many hidden gems, whether it's a restaurant, beach, hotel, anything worth checking out. So what is your hidden gem to share with our viewers?
Okay, so it is... Been thinking about this one. No, it is called La Hacienda Super Tacos, and it is on Orange Avenue and 33rd in Fort Pierce.
Okay.
And I love it when I have to go up to Fort Pierce because I'm going to time it. So I have to go by that spot because they're out there barbecuing chicken and ribs.
Oh,
and
good tacos.
Oh, yeah. This is the real deal. Small little handheld tacos, perfect with a little lime. And you see guys dressed in coats. You see police officers. You see the landscapers. Everybody's lined up to get these tacos, and they're really cheap. You get like 2 tacos for $5. It's great.
Legit Mexican street tacos.
Legit. And then they provide you with a Coca-Cola that's from Mexico, so it's made from the sugar cane. Glass bottle. Got to recycle. It's great. Then once you're done with that, you're going to walk right across the street to Dixie Cream Donuts. Hopefully you time it in such a way that you can get the leftovers from the morning and they sell them to you for like half price. Which is really... But if they're closed and you still have that sweet tooth, I recommend you drive down to Stewart. For you chocoholics out there, Castronova Chocolates. This gal opened up this shop, and she has won numerous awards with the creations that she's made out of chocolate bars. It's bean to bar chocolate, and it's really awesome. We usually use them as gifts to give out to folks for holidays and whatnot. Best chocolate out there.
Okay, fantastic. Well, you heard it right here from Mr. John Savon, one of our RWorld past presidents, the king of Marketing Madness.
Hey.
Thank you so much for being here with us. It's truly been a pleasure. And for all of you guys, we will see you right back here next Friday, 8 a.m. on RWorldTalk.